friends, welcome to another edition of Beavertown Outdoors. I'm John. I'm not here at the beautiful Beavertown compound today. Instead, we're on a little road trip here. Where I'm at, up here in Gladwin, Michigan, is a place called United Truck Sales. Hey, you guys are probably familiar with me talking about them. They're where my 264 TYM and the Branson came from. So they invited me here today to they watched some of my videos, and they invited me here today to ask me to come and talk about them and give everybody a little tour of the dealership, tell them what they're all about. So that's what we're going to do today. So hope you'll stick around. There's some great people, and if you've ever been interested if you're looking for a tractor, or if you've ever been interested in a tractor, you know, this would be an option, especially if you're in northern Michigan. So stay tuned. So here at UTS, looks like they carry, they definitely carry TYM. They're our local TYM dealer. If you're not familiar with TYM, they've got a pretty decent history, which I'm hoping we'll hear about here shortly. Looks like they got a new brand though here. This is something I haven't seen before, Solus. I think I've heard of these before. Kind of a neat looking tractor, a little different. Has the comfort package. You know, we'll have to ask when we get in there. We'll have to ask what these are all about too. Kind of a different design. Has a neat layout. Looks like smaller, kind of in size with like your subcompact, but they carry. Looks like they carry everything from a subcompact to compact. I think I even saw it back. Even a large. I guess what I would consider a large tractor. I'm sure out there's plenty of people say, oh, those are all babies. They don't have a big tractor. So, yeah, they got... I know some people who don't know much about TYM. I do know this from my own experience. TYM bought out Branson, but, you know, they keep a lot of the models, and but they kept the numbers, which that can kind of be confusing. I know Chris in the Woodyard did a video at a TYM dealer, and he was talking about that. Said, you know, why some of the numbers are 3 digits, like this 474 here, or then some of them got 4 digits. Well, if you notice, if you guys see my videos, I have a Branson 2515H, and this is just a TYM 2515H. And I think they kept that just because it's still the same tractor, basically, same design. They used the Branson designs and kept those, I think, with 4 numbers. So, yeah, they got them with cabs, without. Pretty awesome machines. Even this big guy here, yeah. You guys have heard enough of my talking, I think. Let's, what do you say we head in and meet some of the folks, the fine folks here at United Truck Sales, and see what this place is all about. Alright, so here we are inside the office here at UTS in Gladwin. And when you first come in, one of the first people you're going to see is Miss Vanessa. Hi. You're going to see her smiling face. She's one of the best people to talk to on the phone. And let me tell you, she's the one around here. She knows that everything's going on. Whether you need service, you need sales, she knows everything that goes on here. If you want to talk to somebody who knows, that's the person. Oh. You also got down here, let's see if we can get to her. Coco. We got the shop dog Coco. There we go. Let's get a good shot of Coco.
She says hi to all the customers. She'll stretch on your leg as you walk in.
Now, does it get any better than a cute little dog when you come into a place? I mean, that's just inviting. I mean, it's probably exploitation of a dog, but you know, that's okay. I mean, we all love dogs, right? And then one of my other favorite people in the world. This is Chase.
Howdy.
Chase is the guy who he's took care of me through my previous tractor, my 264, and the Branson. He actually is the one that helped me move up in the world into that tractor, and we haven't looked back since. In fact, actually, you've seen in my short. Here, we'll just come over here. That tractor should look familiar to everybody there. So, yep, the Branson's in here, waiting for Robert. Unfortunately, he couldn't be here today, but Robert is their master of all things mechanically related. So I think what we're going to do here, I'm just going to sit down here with Chase, and I'm going to let him do some of the talking because you guys hear me talk all the time. So we'll just sit down here. So Chase, so tell everybody about UTS. I mean, it's not a company that maybe everybody's familiar with.
Yeah.
I mean, more people are, I think, getting used to the TYM brand, and
Absolutely.
I had never heard of it before you guys opened. So, I mean, where's UTS? Where did it start?
Yeah, so UTS started out as United Truck Sales out of down in Clinton Township. Actually, Vanessa was here a little bit earlier than I was, so she has a really good backstory on them. But for the most part, it's a family-owned business that operated. They used to do semi-truck repairs and hydraulic repairs and everything. The way the story, as I've heard it, is the boss man received invitation to become a TYM dealer back in 2019. Shortly after, he received his first few tractors. They kind of sat around for a little bit until they started to build up a name, and by golly, once they took off, he started selling them like hotcakes. From there, from the Clinton store, he decided, hey, it's going to be worth my time to move up here to northern Michigan and put plant a flag in the soil up here and be able to carry tractors to this northern Michigan community. And that's where our Gladwin location originated, and since then, we've grown from Clinton to Gladwin, and now in Buckley and also in Jackson or Clark Lake, as it's well known.
So you got, 4 locations?
Four.
Yes. Wow. So it started with that original Clinton Township location, and then it's just grown from there.
Yeah. And what's really nice about it, too, all 4 locations are able to offer service as well as sales, of course. And so for all of our customers out there shopping, service is a huge part of our business, and being able to help our customers in the time of need, especially like John here.
Yeah, so and that's one thing I had heard actually was that people didn't know that. They knew that the location down Clinton Township, they had big facility service.
Absolutely.
But that's one of the things that, like you said, is big about owning a tractor. That's part of the there's the Kubota, there's the John Deere diehards, there's every brand has loyalty, like Ford, Chevy, Dodge, Steel, Husqvarna. But one of the biggest things that's nice is to have a dealer close that does the service. Because, I mean, everything mechanical is going to have its issue. It's going to break sometimes. I mean, some more than others. But, that's the question is, like, do you have service? Because it's such a small building here.
Yeah.
And you guys have the service bay out there. But you guys have some plans to actually grow that even further now, don't you?
Yes. Yeah. So more recently, the Gladwin location has expanded. We have purchased the building next door that is currently going through some renovations to now become our new service department. We'll have parts and service over there, and then this will become almost strictly sales. So this will be kind of our office, also our showroom out in the shop there. Okay. So we're very excited about the expanding of the company here in Gladwin, and being able to help continue servicing our customers and their tractors.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, you guys have been phenomenal to me. It's like any other location. You don't have everything in stock, but I think whenever I've needed something, it's like it's within a couple of days. You read online, and you can't always believe everything you see online of like, it takes 6 months to get any kind of part or anything like that. And that's just not the case. That's not my experience, and I don't think that's been you guys' either, has it?
No, we've done really well by our customers. There is the occasional time where a part is unfortunately on back order through TYM, and there are several weeks that we have to wait for those parts to come in. But for the most part, we do the best that we can to keep a lot of parts in stock on site. And with the acquisition of the new building, we'll be able to have more storage room, more storage capabilities. For the longest time, as you pointed out, Clinton Township has been our kind of reservoir for parts, and they've continuously shipped and brought up parts to us as we've needed them for our customers to continue the brand and keeping the tractors running.
Great. I mean, that's phenomenal. Now, expand it a little bit, and I think if you don't mind, maybe we'll take a walk out and see some of that in a little bit. But you guys have grown to the point, not only are you a big TYM dealer here, but you guys carry some other things. And one was, I was mentioning out there, can you kind of like touch on the whole story between TYM and Branson?
Yeah. So last year, there was a email that was sent out company-wide that notified us that TYM had actually purchased Branson, or at least the parent company of Branson, Coop J Manufacturing. So the way that I have interpreted the story is in 2016, TYM and Coop J started to work together, and they actually implemented the Coop J engines in a lot of the larger framed TYM tractors, as well as the 264 that John previously owned. From there, Coop J continued to manufacture Branson tractors separate from the TYM tractor, and then as recently as 2023, in January, TYM and Branson had then merged. From there, TYM has done a really good job of expanding their kind of reach as far as dealerships go, but also now they've kind of adopted the Branson lineup and been able to offer the 4-digit number tractors in addition to the 3-digit TYM tractors.
And that's what I was kind of touching on there a little bit, because you got the 2515s, but then you have the 25, or you got the 2-digit, 3-digit, and 4-digit.
Absolutely.
And then the 4-digit numbers are the Branson designs, basically. Yes. I mean, it's basically the same design. It's the same heavy duty. Branson is kind of known for more of the larger frame, the heavier duty,
more robust
tractors. And those, so that's when you see the 4-digit number. That was originally, that translates back to the original Branson number, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So to put it simply, TYM and Branson are still kind of actually working on combining some things. So you will actually run across some TYM and Branson combination tractors. We've actually, over the last couple weeks, have been selling a lot of two-tone tractors, a lot of I like to say 2 colors, 1 price for some of them. And then there have been some tractors that are like the monotone Branson colors that are also being offered at additional rebates. Really what that's doing is TYM is kind of, for lack of a better way to describe it, they're purging their inventory, offering discounts to customers, and at the same time they're allowing for the new inventory to be ushered in through the dealerships, kind of in a seamless transition.
Perfect. I mean, that makes sense. I mean, there's no sense in just leaving parts sitting around there. Yep. I mean, and don't think that even the big auto dealers haven't done that. My dad owned a truck once upon a time they called it a parts bin truck because it was in that transition year.
Yep.
And so it had certain things that it shared with the old body style, and then when they went to the new body style, it was like in '99.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's a good way of doing things. Now, I noticed something new out there, actually, the Solus tractors.
Yes.
When did you guys start carrying those?
So those also came onto the lineup just about the same time the Bransons did, maybe a little bit before. But the Solus tractor is a tractor that we're very excited to continue to carry. It offers our customers another tractor in the subcompact lineup with that 24 to 25 horsepower range. Very similar lift capacities to our T25. That 1,400-pound lift. And then what it does is it allows the customer to shop not only in the TYM market, but also the other markets that are out there. So, of course, you have the John Deeres and the Kubotas of the world, but you also have TYM and the other affiliates that are still trying to make a name for themselves. And that's where Solus has really come in. They're a company based off of International Tractors Limited. They're based out of India, and basically what they're doing is producing a quality tractor at an affordable price. Running a Mitsubishi motor, so everybody knows the Mitsubishi diesel motors have been a very reliable power source for tractors, and they're working in conjunction with Yanmar on a lot of their products, so they've got a lot of good things going for them. All they have to do is now establish themselves as a name brand, just as TYM has worked to do so.
And TYM is not really that new of a brand, I found out. I mean, there's some, I don't know if I don't want to put you on the spot and know like an exact date, but I mean, they've been around for
70 years.
Yeah, they've been around 70 years.
Yep.
Okay,
so
at least 50.
Yep. So a lot of their literature online talks about how they've been a tractor manufacturer for over 70 years. A lot of it actually working in the background for a lot of customers, or for a lot of distributors, I'm sorry. A story that I like to share to some customers even, a really cool story. There's a gentleman that we sold to down in the Lakeview point, for the Michiganders, that's down by like Michigan or Mount Pleasant area. He actually purchased a Scorpion tractor about 20 years ago. And Scorpion and Millennium, I think, are the two kind of names that TYM started out with. This gentleman had a Scorpion for 20 years, put over 2,000 hours on it, and he came to us last year looking to not necessarily upgrade, but just get a newer tractor. And what we ended up doing is selling him a 474, which is essentially a carbon copy of the Scorpion tractor that he had purchased 20 years prior. He was very excited to do business with us because he could rely on the fact that the same motor or the same company that produced his Scorpion that lasted him so long was continuing to produce a high quality product for years to come.
And I mean, that's good with it. That's always a comforting thing, I think, especially when, for folks that do a lot of work with equipment and that, is that they have that familiarity. It's kind of like, with equipment. I mean, there's people I run into with firewood is that say, I only want oak. I'm not interested in maple. I'm not interested in any of this stuff because my dad burned oak, my grandfather burned. Everybody. That's what they grow up knowing. What they're familiar with. So it's always comforting. I think it's probably human nature is that familiarity is a comforting thing. So
real quick to kind of interrupt, I do know that TYM did start to branch out and start producing their own tractors. I believe it was shortly after the Scorpion Millennium they started to, I think, adopt the name the TYMs back in the early to late 2000s. Because there are a handful of models out there that are Mitsubishi-powered tractors in that similar frame size of the 264. And then from there, they've continued to grow, and they've actually built tractors for quite a few other manufacturers. Rule King, I do believe, Cabela's Tractors, and a few others. They have had partnerships with Mahindra and Bad Boy, I do believe, is also a Branson subsidiary, so a lot of familiarity with the market share.
And that's one of the things I've learned, too, is that there's a lot of... One of the things that attracted me to like TYM in the first place was that TYM is kind of... It's like GMC to Chevy, is that the base... that TYM builds the tractors for all these different brands, and they rebadge them, I think is the correct term for it. So, I mean, Rural King... Cabela's, I think, but it happens with other ones too. Like Bobcat is a Coyote.
Yes.
Doosan, I think. Doosan, and Doosan's but like LS, the New Holland. That's LS Tractors is New Holland.
Yep.
But everybody's familiar with that name. But it's just like people. I know a Chevy, but GMC's pretty much the same thing. There's a little bit differences. So. That's cool. And then you guys are carrying mowers now too. Like you guys got Gravely, and you guys had skid steers too at one time.
So the Clinton Township store does carry a lot of the more construction-based equipment. They have that kind of market for it. But from time to time, you will see some other equipment on our lot. Just yesterday, we watched a Hyundai excavator leave. Previous to that, we have had some Wacker Neuson products on the lot as well. As the company continues to grow, especially with the growing customer base, we hope to expand, the products that we offer. Aaron's and Gravely have been an excellent choice of lawnmower for us to carry, giving us an American-made product that we are happy to sell and service. And so, really, what it comes down to, the reason we actually started carrying lawnmowers, a lot of folks really liked our 224 model. And they wanted to add a mid-mount mower, but after the 224 model, you can't really get a belly mount mower that is easy to use, easy to remove, and operate. So that's where these zero-turn lawnmowers have allowed us to really assist our customers in another aspect.
And I mean, it even coming from, I had the Kubota with the belly mower, and I had my 264, I had the rear mount mower.
Yeah.
But there's something about the zero turn that, those take, like, especially like the rear mount or any of those, you can get a gigantic one on one of these tractors, but if you, like out of the compound, there's a lot of hills, a lot of trees, a lot of things. Zero turn, I go from, even with the biggest deck I had on a big tractor, I was in a couple of hours of mowing. Now I'm less than, a little over an hour.
Absolutely.
And that's because I'm very detail oriented. So, but that's great. You guys have expanded that. Now, if somebody wanted, say, what was the Wacker
Neuson.
Neuson, you know, something like that. I mean, do they have to, if they're from Gladwin, do they have to drive down there, or can you guys actually get one brought up to show somebody?
Yeah, so from time to time we do get the occasional unit that comes up. I do know that when I first started here, there was a wheeled skid steer unit that was here for a little while. I tried to sell it several times, unfortunately, unsuccessfully. We did end up sending it back down to the Clinton store, and they were able to sell it pretty quick. And really, it just depends on the market, right? So we've had a couple of the high-end excavators here. We have sold a few of them, which has been really nice. And for customers that are shopping for those brands, we have our website out there. It is well established. We have a team that operates that, and they can shop on there. What happens is we do from time to time get products up here. And so if a customer comes in and they are very serious about purchasing, it is a definite likelihood that we can get those sort of products up here for them to shop. I do my best to be as flexible as possible, utilizing the tools like the internet and our website to demonstrate the features and other things that are available on these, so that when the equipment comes up, they're not surprised by the size of it or shocked by the features that come standard on them.
That's awesome. That's great. Well, speaking of the options, some of the features, I know guys that probably, I mean, this has been great so far, you know, but you know, the viewers, I'm sure they want to actually see the tractors, and we can maybe go over some of the models and some of the different options out there that, you know, people who aren't familiar with the brand line, we can look at that and maybe look at some of the other stuff, because you guys carry accessories, you know, implements and everything. So that'll be, how about we take a walk outside and take a look?
Let's do it, yeah.
All right, so we're out here at the tractor line, which, you know, at one time I've seen this pretty full. You're not so much, which isn't a bad thing. You guys get if you don't have what somebody's looking for, you guys can get it in pretty quick. Oh, yeah. So, you know, but you guys are selling a lot of tractors, which is awesome. So why don't we show everybody what we'll kind of start with your smaller models, and we'll work our way up to the big boys.
Yeah, of course. So we've got all the tractors pulled up to the front line to kind of do some driveway maintenance. All this wet weather has really kind of done a damper on our gravel. So on Monday, we're going to go through and drag everything out and then get it all lined up nice and pretty again. But in front of us here, we've got the 254. Attachment is the TB60 backhoe. One of our more well-known models, the 254, is running the Yanmar motor, very similar to the 224 as well as the T25. You can see the seat is actually reversed on here for the backhoe operation. It's a very quick, easy process to flip that back around for your tractor operations. It's been a really good tractor for us. A lot of folks like this size. It's great for the homeowner that is looking to get into a tractor that's not going to be expensive, but also do a little bit of everything that they're looking to do. Going over a few of the features that are standard on these is the skid steer quick attach on the bucket. So that allows you to change out to pallet forks or grapples, any sort of implement on the front that has that quick attach feature.
Which is good. That comes standard, right? Because we were just talking to a gentleman earlier today that he came in here and he was looking for a grapple, but he's got the pin on, and so now there's that extra cost that you got to do to add that on, and it's nice that they come standard. I think it comes standard on pretty much all of TYM's line, right?
Yes, it does. And more recently, TYM did start to manufacture the 224 with this skid steer quick attach as well. So it allows our customers, again, to be more versatile in all of their attachments and really build their tractor that they want.
It's awesome. Now, and two, I remember the neat thing about, like, when I had the 264, that the weight rating they give you on the loader is with the skid steer quick attach. Like, if you add that to other tractors, you're reducing your loader capacity because it's rated at pins. Yeah. Where TYM, Branson, those are actually meant for, that's the weight with the skid steer quick attach. You don't have to have that reduction like some.
Right. So the weight rating is still rated at the pins, but you also still do, with all the TYM models, get a lot of lift capacities. In particular, this model is capable of about a 900 to 1,000 pound lift capacity, and that 264 that John had actually has a lift capacity of 1,400 pounds, and that, again, with proper ballast, did really well with it.
And that, I mean, that's you know, that's incredible. Well, you think, because this is probably the 254. You're kind of on that range of like the BX, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But I mean, I remember my Kubota had like a 700-pound capacity. You know, where you're at 900 there, and I remember the 264 was a huge jump. It wasn't a bigger much bigger of a size, but it was double the lift capacity.
Yeah.
So
the 264 and the T25 both, compared to this model, are going to be just a hair bigger in terms of frame size. Your tires are a little bigger, and then of course the seat doesn't have the luxury of flipping around when you install a backhoe. Okay. Those ones will then have a rear mount backhoe with a rear mount permanent seat.
Okay. Very cool. Yeah, you put backhoe. I mean, it's, you know, not the world. You're not going to move mountains, at least not in an hour. But I mean, that's still. I mean, the versatility there is awesome. So, and then so what we got? This is a 224.
Yes. So the 224 sports the 22 horse Yanmar motor. Smaller loader, of course, smaller lift capacity. These ones are very comparable to the Kubota BX. So your lift capacities are somewhere around about 600 pounds.
Okay.
With the quick attach plates on here, some folks have been purchasing pallet forks for them. Mm-hmm. The only downside, if there was one, is you kind of lose some of that lift with the weight of the pallet forks.
Right, because I mean, it's geometry and physics. You put something farther out, you're going to have, you lower that capacity because it's the leverage thing. Okay.
Yep. But the 224 has proven to be an excellent tractor for folks that are looking to do a little of this, a little of that. And as we touched on inside, does have the mid-mount mower capabilities. With the zero turns on the lot, mid-mount mowers are not all the rage anymore, but should a customer want to add one, it is available.
Awesome. And that's, so basically it's got the mid-mount PTO.
Yes.
And that's a true mid-mount PTO. It's not just like a little hydraulic pump running a spindle. It's That's awesome.
And all the features are mounted right here. Standard operations, really ready to go on both the 224 and I believe the 254. Both come standard with the mid PTO and the accessories needed to use them.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's really been nice about TYM and the Branson too. I mean, the controls are very well laid out. You know, now this is one thing that I like, and you know this. You remember that was one of the selling points for me of the Branson was to have the lever up here. But you know, and some of that, you know, that or down by the seat, you know, that which like some of the Solus, which we're going to get to, you know, that's it's a preference thing. I mean, they both work well. My first was the lever up at on the loader. On the loader. That's what I was used to, and it was hard for me to get used to the other one. So I mean, it was just it just depends on what you got. So all right, well, so I think we can move down to the Solus tractors. Yeah. So this is one of those Solus tractors. So we were starting to talk about this. This is something new.
Yeah, so the Solus tractor, again, came to us last year around the same time Branson did. Some things that we really like about these tractors, first and foremost, the thing that pops out to us is the tires. So they offer a different style of tire than the variables. Mm-hmm. I really like how wide they are, and then also the stance of the tractor is much wider. So with your lifting, you're not so tipsy-turvy. You've got a lot more stability down on the ground.
Yeah, I know. Like some people, they'll put extra wheel spacers on to widen that out, and it's like you don't barely need it. I mean, this is a wide. I mean, she's kind of wide in the rear end there.
Yeah,
and we'll save all the puns on that one, but everybody probably gets that. But this even for this side, it has rear hydros?
Yes. Yep. So
that's huge.
There are a few standard features on this H24 model that are very comparable to the TYM T25.
Okay.
Unfortunately, today I don't have any T25s to showcase, but the Soluses, I have several units here on the lot. Some of the standard features that it shares with the T25, of course, as John has pointed out, the rear hydraulics. Something else, the suspension seat is something that is very important to customers, the comfort that they experience on their tractors. Armrests are also standard, and then something that is unique to the Solus tractor is the self-leveling loader.
Self-leveling loader.
Yes.
Okay, that's something I've never heard of.
Yeah, so it's really neat operation-wise. Basically, the way that these operate is as you raise up the bucket actually maintains a certain levelness as it raises and lowers.
That's fantastic.
What that allows the customer to do is if they have a, say, a pallet that they're trying to operate up and down, they don't have to try to find that happy medium of trying to keep that pallet level. The tractor loader does it all for them.
See, now that's what I was just thinking. I wouldn't be so much that big a deal with the bucket, but for a sports, that would be huge, because I'm always having to make sure I'm not, because just the way it doesn't work like a forklift. You're coming up and it ends up angling up, and you got to lower it down. So that's pretty cool. This is a neat tractor.
Yeah.
Now, what's the horsepower on this one?
This is ran by a 24 horsepower Mitsubishi motor.
Okay.
So very comparable to the 264 and T25.
Now, is it mechanical or is it electronic?
Yes, this is a mechanical engine. So I'll go ahead and pop the hood here for you.
So now, while you're doing that, so like all the TYMs, pretty much everything, as long as it's, or even with some of the emission stuff, there's still the old mechanical injection, which, when I say old, I don't mean that as an insult. That's the less electronics, less things go wrong. You don't have your tractor die because of a wire.
Right, exactly. So that is actually something that the owners have really hung their hat on in terms of that is what they want to sell. That is the product that they prefer to carry, because not only is it easier to work on, but you have a lot less maintenance involved with all the electronics. So a sales pitch that we use often here at UTS is old technology and a new tractor.
That's brilliant. I mean, certain things. I'm all for emissions. I'm all for taking better care of the planet, and even if honestly efficiency, because you get fuel efficient, it saves you money in the fuel. But if in the world of a tractor, sometimes the tried and true is what's going to be reliability is huge. I mean, the downtime is money lost. So I mean, to have something that's mechanical, it's easy to fix, or is less failure points, that's a good thing.
Yep.
So yeah, this is a neat tractor. Like even the quick attach handles, they're beefy.
Yeah, and they are a little bit of a different design, but they operate just the same. So you have your standard quick attach setup where you would drop it into the pin set, and then these are standard sized quick attach plates, so it does not limit you in your implement search. You can still put pallet forks, and I have even sold several grapples with these tractors.
Really?
A couple tractors down, John, I do have a couple with third functions currently installed on them.
Well, let's go take a look at that.
Customers would like to take a look at that.
Yeah, well, why don't we take a look at that? Because I mean, that's one thing I'd love to have. I wish mine came with a standard instead of having to add it. And I know some tractors, it can come with it. It's at least an option to be factory installed.
Yeah. So these ones were installed by the dealership. We offered them as an option to our customers at an additional cost. On these models, it is a pretty, for lack of a better way to describe it, it is a little complicated because there's a lot of wires and hoses running everywhere. But at the end of the day, what you end up with is two quick couplers mounted right on the cross member, and they allow you to, again, operate that third function or that grapple function that a lot of people do desire.
And that's probably the switch right there on the...
Yes.
So now, is this a diverter style, or is this I guess I don't know what the term would be, independent third function?
Yeah, so these ones I do believe are a diverter valve. So the diverter is actually mounted up on the front. So most tractors you will see, and we'll actually go to one last, you'll have two buttons for the true third function, if you will. And then these diverter valves are very often just a single push button.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I'll say you push the button and it usually takes over like your curl function.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Yep. So you would push the button, and then left and right would allow you to kind of steal from the curl and then open and close.
Yeah, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with that at all. I mean, it's just the push button is what it is. The one thing one thought I have on the diverter is, and I've had very little time operating either one, is that I know I can feather the controls when I'm using the actual valve. Where I know a lot of people, like you watch them with the grapple with the push buttons, it's purely depend on your engine speed. It's going to go at the speed that the pump's pumping.
Yeah.
You know, versus you can you still maintain that feather control because all you're doing is changing where the fluid's going when you feather the control.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's neat. The fuel tank's up here. That's kind of neat.
Yeah, the layout on these is pretty well thought out. There's a few features that are accessible. You know, you've got the parking brake, the four-wheel drive. Really, everything is laid out well, just like on the T25 and the 264.
Awesome. Well, why don't we start getting into some of the bigger ones? I mean, I know. Big tractors. You know, they're cool. You got little ones, and you know, I had the little one, but you move up in the world, right? So
moving on, it'd be awesome to be able to talk about this 2515 that John has made you guys so familiar with. We've got it a few tractors down the line here.
You got one with a cab on it. That's one thing I saw.
It's
that.
a 3515.
Oh, yep. you know, if you guys ever wanted to sponsor my channel, I could accept that as payment. Just kidding.
So here we've got the 2515, and actually the other day when John had dropped by, there was a few features that we were pointing out to each other, some nuances that we liked and disliked on both, and really from a visual aspect you can kind of see some of those things, more aesthetic than purely operational.
I don't know, the toolbox there looks a little, you know, you got the box right up there on the mountain. Where mine doesn't, I've got the little ammo. You've seen mine. I've got the ammo can on the side, which works. But even just to have that bracket is would be cool because then you can even mount an ammo can there if you didn't like the little plastic box. And a very important thing, the beverage holder, because you know you're on a tractor all day. You shouldn't drink alcohol and drive. But if you want a refreshing beverage while you're on the tractor, it's always a good thing. And that was one thing with the Branson. It didn't have one, so I got the little magnetic, but they actually kind of TYM took on and thought of those little things that we all think of later. So
yeah, so what's been really nice as I've learned through my processes of being here, TYM has continued to improve their product each and every stage along the way. And so as John has pointed out, they've added some of these luxuries that customers have asked for. The toolbox, the beverage holder, and then a really nice feature that I like to point out to everybody that comes in is the maneuverability of the seat.
Yeah, that's huge.
Suspension seat as well, so you can adjust the stiffness. And then last but not least is the lumbar support and having those different kind of selections to be able to make.
And that's been a cool thing for me to go into this from the 264, because 264 had some adjustment, but that suspension seat, my back thanks me every day that we got that, because and it's not a wimpy suspension seat. Somebody my size who's we'll just say a little on the husky side, it still supports me just fine. It doesn't bother, you know, I don't have to crank it all the way up to keep from bottoming out. I mean, I can adjust it. I mean, Ms. Debbie, who's a little bit lighter, we loosen it up a little bit because she don't weigh enough to weigh down much in anything. So, but no, this is neat, and I like how they've actually. We were talking about it the other day. You know, some of the controls, like even where the ignition switch goes. Actually, come over here to see it because we were talking about that. It's like I've actually bumped with my knee, turning back to look at something, the ignition switch, and they kind of moved it off to the side over here. So. You know, you can see it right here versus where mine's straight sticking out, and they move this to where it's a little more convenient instead of having to reach down. That's pretty neat.
Absolutely. And they're constantly improving their products, as I had stated previously, taking into consideration what the customers have given them in terms of feedback.
Yeah, and you know the convenience features plus, I mean, to me, you know, a lot of people don't think of ergonomics on a tractor. I think it's just, you know, it's just a thing you ride around on and move some dirt or do whatever with. But ergonomics are important. If you're, you know, it's those little things that, you know, when it's easier to operate and control, you're that much quicker, you're that much more efficient. And again, it goes back to the time is money thing.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, very nice. I mean, they even put a little shroud on there, you know, to kind of dress up a little bit. You know, a little less, I don't know, utilitarian. You know, they actually kind of did some streamlining to this. Yeah. This is pretty neat. So, still got the grill guard, the brush guard, which is pretty neat. Especially if you're doing like grapple work or something. A lot of people, like, you know, if you have just the wide open to the grill, you pick up something, it's always, you're going to catch that one errant thing. And amazing what a stick can do to the grill of a tractor.
Yeah, we've replaced a lot of these front brushes, especially on the 264 models, just because of that fact. So having this little protector here has been a huge savings for a lot of our customers.
That's awesome. Now this is, just to explain some of the numbers too, okay? We were talking about the 4-digit numbers. So this was a Branson design originally. I mean, it's been improved by TYM. But now the other thing that some people might not be familiar with, which let me see if I can, it's a little easier here to show on this one. So you got 2515H. Now I noticed one of the other ones, I think it was a 3515, has the R. So maybe let's explain what the difference is between the H and the R for those who maybe aren't so familiar with the tractor world.
Yeah, so stepping back just a step, the 15 kind of carries the same model. So 15 is this frame size that John's is, as well as the 35 that he's described. The H stands for hydrostatic. The R stands for the shuttle, or manual shift.
Okay, so kind of what people think of Grandpa's old Ford 9N, you know, you got the manual, but it's not, doesn't quite operate that way, because I mean with the shuttle shift isn't the where you have to be at a complete stop and then put in a gear and then let it jump you. It's
right.
You know, you can actually, there's the option to shift it while you're at least somewhat in motion,
yes,
right?
Yep. So without being able to show you folks, that tractor did leave to get some rim guard added, so we were loading the tires for that customer.
Oh, so you don't have it here. I thought that was the one that was over here.
It was yesterday, and then yesterday evening we did take it up. So what happens is you, in a shuttle shift model, have a selection of gears, 1, 2, 3, 4, and the high, medium, low that is standard on the hydro models. So here you'll see the high, medium, and low, and then to the right of the cabin, there will be, right where this plate is a 1, 2, 3, 4 selection. And then lastly, up here on the dash, there will be a shift lever for forward and reverse. So the way that these shuttle shift tractors are going to operate is you will use the clutch pedal to transition into forward and reverse, as well as high, medium, and low. But while you're in the high, medium, or low gears, you can transition through the 1 through 4 ranges, as John explained, while in motion.
And neither one's better or worse. It's just, it kind of depends on what you're doing, right? I mean, I know for mine doing the loader stuff, you know, what's neat with the hydro is even like, well, Debbie can operate it, and she's done it before, is that it operates a lot like a car. I mean, even to the point that, you know, like my Kubota, the hydro, you know, your hydro pedals weren't tied to your throttle. These have the actual auto throttle where you push forward, as you can start from idle, and the more you push, the more, not only the faster you're going to go because of the hydro, but it's going to actually throttle up to keep you from lugging that motor down.
Absolutely. So something that is an important part of the sales process, especially when I'm working with customers that are shopping, is going to be the difference between hydrostatic and shuttle shift transmissions. As John has stated, loader work is anymore these days 90% of the workload that customers are using these for. With that in mind, as the tractor lineup has shown you, hydrostatic models tend to be the more highly demanded product. There are an occasional previous tractor owner that has come in shopping, and they are tried and true to the shuttle shift models. What is really nice about those is you have the selection of gears to have the selection of power, to put it simply. Hydrostatic tractors have the infinite ranges within their high, mediums, and lows, whereas in a shuttle you have the more specified low 1, low 2, or high 1, high 2, and then also the power to the wheels changes per gear selection.
Well, and that's it, you know, and part of that power too is that's one thing. I mean, I don't know if it's as big a deal as is sometimes perceived, but you know, there's a lot of thought of, okay, it's like manual transmission in a car versus the automatic. You know, you have that kind of torque conversion factor with the hydro, so you're absorbing a little bit of that horsepower, you know, where there's at least a perception that the shuttle shift gives you, you know, puts a little bit more directly to the wheels versus the hydro, right?
Fair enough, yes. And I would echo those statements a lot, because there are a lot of customers that are weekend farmers or that are shopping just for a tractor to have around the house. And as John has talked about, the hydrostatic models 9 times out of 10 are going to be the better models for customers, simply for the ease of use. You can put Debbie on the tractor and they will be able to help you with any sort of projects that you're doing.
Oh, that's it. Yeah, she never learned to drive a manual transmission car. You know, I did, so I mean, I could use either one, but you know, especially when you're in our situation where it's like, you know, you're spending a decent amount of money there, and you know, we've all got that boss at home, right? You know, the one that says you're not buying that unless I can use it. So, you know, there's
absolutely.
that. Yeah,
absolutely.
So, all right. Well, let's see now. So this is kind of the larger frame. You know, that's one thing these type models were, is they're maybe lower the horsepower, you know, which actually helps you with keeping out of that emissions thing. But it's still the large frame. You still have the high lift capacity of some of the bigger ones, like maybe down here, like the what we got, a 474, I think.
Yep. There's a 474 and a 3515 next to each other down here. These are both cab models, so what is really nice is these cabins come with heat, air, and a radio all included into that package.
Oh, tune skis while you're working. That's always awesome. So, yeah, this is kind of nice. You know, you can live the life of luxury. Although, mine gets kept in the barn, because with the open station, I can fold the ROPS down, right? And you know, she it's not a garage queen, but you know, it doesn't sit out in the snow. Let's put it that way, unless it's working. And you get some more lights to this too. You got the lights up front and everything. But all right, so let's see inside the cab here. Well, this is nice. So you got the PTO lever. I like how the PTO lever is on this one. It's a little easier to get to.
Yeah.
Now what's this one down here out in front here? We got this little lever right here.
Yep, so that is your 4-wheel drive lever.
Oh, so no little kick pedal.
Yeah, so on the TYMs, they've continued to produce the products as they always have. Not much has changed in the TYM models after the acquisition of Branson. In fact, I would even go as far as to say some of the Branson models are being transitioned closer towards the TYMs. Some of the features that John have pointed out, the 4-wheel drive lever, the PTO lever, and then this down here, the differential lock, are all pretty much standard positions across all of their models, whether it be the T25 all the way up to the 574.
Now, one thing that is nice, and I didn't think I'd miss it, but I do a little bit with the Branson. Branson only has the single brake lever, where this has the split brakes.
Correct. Yes. So it is a really easy operation to separate the brakes per your preference, per your job that you're doing.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't use it often, but like if you gotta make a super tight turn, you kind of get that almost that skid steer effect. It can just tighten the turn up that much more.
Yeah.
But very nice dash. Looks very stylish. There's your radio up there. Okay, so we got our heat, we got air conditioning. Your stereo. Oh, we got windshield wipers. There's another cool thing.
And then your cab lights as well, and then your Kenwood radio there.
Yeah, I mean, this really, it's not chintzy looking at all. I mean, you got you got really nice looking switches. The ergonomics of it, that is one thing I will give TYM. They've got the ergonomics down, and I think that's kind of where you were getting at, is they've taken with the Branson line, like we were showing with the 2515, a lot of the ergonomics.
Yep. That
TYM to me seems to be known for. They've translated over to the Branson, where the Branson was a little more utilitarian.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
one of those big features that people really enjoy, especially on the cab models, are these fender-mounted loader handles. As we discussed earlier with the third function kits in the diverter valve, this tractor comes equipped with the 2-button third function operation, so you'll have an open and a close button for opening and closing your grapple.
Okay, so you can move, you can curl, you can do everything at the same time, and you can it's just a matter of push button, open and close.
Yep. Yep.
All right. Then over here you got big handle for that's the throttle, I assume.
Yes. Yep.
Now these even in these big size, we have the auto throttle still in it, right?
Correct.
That just basically overrides it if you want to keep the RPMs up.
Yep.
Higher than idle.
Specifically, what I point out to a lot of customers is for your PTO operation, this throttle handle allows you to access a higher idle speed. And then that way, when you go to use your tiller or your brush hog, you don't have to just operate at a really fast speed. You have that luxury of the throttle on the dash there.
Perfect. All right. And all your controls, like I said, you got right here. You got your lights, your horn, and everything. So
your cruise control as well.
Oh, it's got cruise control.
Yeah. So these larger models, even into the smaller models, they are operated with a cruise control button.
All right, that's if you need you're doing something like plowing, I guess, where you got to keep or mowing.
Yeah,
if you're brush hogging mowing, you want to keep a consistent speed. Yeah, it's very nice. I mean, this isn't plastic.
Nope, automotive.
That's glass.
Yep.
In fact, so you can see right down there. Though probably can't read that on the camera, but yeah, very nice. Yeah, latch is nice and tight, so that's good. Awesome. So. That kind of covered. Now this is a 3515 over here next to me, so don't let that door hit you.
Yeah.
So I guess I'll open up over here. So again, I mean, it's still nice, but you can tell, like kind of like I was saying, Branson, even they've made some refinements with TYM, but it still has a little bit more of the utilitarian feel versus say the 474.
Yeah.
So, but now there's some. I forgot to ask, what is the horsepower on the 474?
So the 474, and much like a lot of the TYM models, the first two numbers do technically describe the horsepower, except for, of course, the 264 is a 24 horse. This 474 is a 48 horse.
Okay.
And what is really nice, it also translates over to the Branson brand, where the 4 digits, the first 2 are your horsepower, and the second 2 are your model size.
Okay, perfect. So there's, I think exists there's a 3525, I think, right? And so is it
much larger frame size. Yep, with a 35 horse engine in it.
Perfect. Okay, but like I said, again, this is, and it's not bad. It's not it doesn't seem crude by any means, but just like I said, again, there's a little more utilitarian feel, or and to some people they might like that better than some other things. But still very, very much very, like you were saying now, say like that. That's what I was talking about. Like the kick, to me, I call that a kick pedal, even though you're supposed to reach down and grab it, but a lot of times it's just easier just to hit it with your heel, right?
Yeah, I use my foot all the time for that 4-wheel drive linkage.
Yeah, and then you got just like pretty much everybody, I think that the differential is, the differential is meant to stomp your foot on.
Yep.
So, well, not stomp your foot, but press down on. But then you got your forward, reverse, and now what do we got here? Okay, so the parking brake is over here.
Yes.
Oh, that's
so it's a little bit of a different setup there. So you'll have just the flip lever here for parking, and then this is your steering wheel tilt control.
Now is it tilt and telescoping or just tilt?
Just tilt.
Just tilt. Okay. Now now see, there's a refinement even just there. But with my 2515 Branson, it's just a little lever with a hook that hooks the emergency brake, versus that this is kind of okay. I don't have to.
Yep.
Yeah. It doesn't seem like it would be that awkward, but it is. It's kind of nice to just be able to have a lever right by your hand. So awesome. And this has so now all the cab models. So is it the same with like TYM and Branson that? If it's the cab model, it's gonna have the fender mounted.
Yeah.
And then if it's the loader mounted, it's for the open station.
Yeah. So the loader mounted valves that you've seen on a lot of the Branson models, that is particular to Branson and their choice of where to locate that. On the 3515, you do have the fender mounted loader handle inside the cab, but once you get into the open station, it is loader mounted. Something that is interesting, and we can poke over there, on the 574 and 494 models, the loader handle is technically fender mounted, but it is in a different position than both of the 47 and 35.
Okay. We'll just do a quick peek here. So very similar though, the system as far as like the heat, your switches. So these are probably TYM additions to it. I'm sure the Bransons were probably maybe a little different. This is identical to the 474.
Yeah.
So, awesome. So we kind of had to jump out here because batteries don't last forever. So we done a lot of talking, which is a lot of great stuff. So we had to switch batteries, but here we are back now. So what do we got? What do we got here? These two.
Yeah, so these two models are some of the more popular TYM available models, the 474 and the 574.
Okay, there's a definite size difference.
Yeah. So the 474 has long been TYM's kind of bestseller in terms of those larger frame models. And it is very comparable to the 2515 in terms of size. Of course, there are a few nuances that make them different. But what is really nice, and a lot of folks buy these because of it, is the compactness of the 50 horse tractor, or 48.
Okay, that's awesome.
So a few features that I would like to point out real quick while we're back here that TYM does offer, and this does catch a lot of people's eyes, are the 3-point arms that operate from the rear, external lever.
Oh!
The other thing too, the rear remotes. So TYM does have some rear remote stock on the TYM models, whereas on the Branson models they are an available add-on. I know that
Mine has it. Mine has
the two. Which
I need to get something that takes advantage of them, like like the 3-point.
Yep.
You can get a powered top link.
Yeah. Or even a grater blade. You can affix a hydraulic cylinder to a grater blade and have a power angle, which you'd be surprised at how much you would really be able to use one once you get a hold of one.
Yeah, and I've had some people tell me too that I should get the because I've got you can see one over there. In fact, my snowblower just down there, it's the exact same. Well, no, that's a 68, but you can get the power kit to spin it, because that's what some people say. Well, you don't spin it and you go back and forth. I'm like, you know what? I just don't want to reach back there and get the back cramp and in a snowsuit. But yeah, either that or you're kind of trying to talk me into that whole power offset on the flail mower we were talking about. So.
That too. That is a definite use for it. So both tractors are actually powered by exactly the same motor. You have a 48 horse powering this one, and the numbers do lie a little bit. This is a 55 horse tractor. Okay. The only difference between the two, the 55, is they've added a turbo, so you get a few more horsepower out of the motor.
Turbos are nice.
Yep, very nice.
I'm kind of trying to find one for the 25 and see if I can get a little more power. Oh, wait, no, EPA, I'm not really going to do that. Not officially, anyway, so. Okay, so, and again, this is very similar to the one with the cab.
Yep. Something that I do point out to a lot of folks is that fender-mounted loader arm, which is nice for some, but as John had pointed out, he preferred the loader-mounted loader handle. Some people really like where those are at, and again, as John had pointed out, it's all a matter of customer preference.
And that's a nice thing. You guys, there's options. It's not, you're not stuck to, this is the tractor. Yeah. This is what we got. This is what we offer. It's like you can, if there's things you prefer, you guys, TYM, Branson back in the day, but more TYM, you can make it your own. Yep. You can, what you prefer. You're not stuck with just, well, this is the way it is. Mm-hmm. So,
lastly, we'll kind of take a look at this 574 here. A few different things, but it is a lot larger tractor than a few that we've looked at.
You can tell just by the step. The step is like way bigger.
Yeah. So, what is interesting about this tractor that a lot of folks will point out is the loader handle location. Not quite on the fender, but actually down on kind of the floorboard a little
It's almost kind of like what the shuttle shift looks like on the smaller ones.
Yeah.
It's kind of that position.
Yep, exactly.
Oh, and then you got the big pellet. Is that the diff lock?
Diff lock, yep.
Wow, so it sticks up out of the floor.
Yeah, same smash it with your foot idea, but just in a different location.
Okay, very neat. And then, now that's kind of nice, the high, medium, low over here.
Yep, so you do have 3 ranges in both the large tractors, the 474 and the 574. And then, of course, the cab, as you may not be able to tell by the camera, but just in person, you can see the cab is a lot more spacious as well. There's a lot of room for activities in there.
Oh, yeah. You almost could bring the dog along. You could, I mean, this is... I think they made a song about go for a ride on a green tractor. Well, let's, I take you for a ride on my red tractor, right? Yeah. Very neat. That's got heat, air conditioning, speakers, And I like this too, as the you know, for the 3-point, all the position, you know, you've got positional and float, and draft position. You've got, and your rear hydros are, you know, kind of nicely there.
Yep, they're all right there, easy to get to.
Very cool. And this one looks like, let's go on the other side.
Yeah,
because it looks like the 4-wheel drive lever. It's kind of hard to see it instead of reaching over.
Yep.
Let's see. But yeah, I like this. That's kind of neat. And it comes with mirrors. I had to add those to mine. I don't know if you noticed that. I put the mirrors on. Yeah. Although with the loader cables, there's not that great a position for them. So let's see. We got here. So your high, medium, low. Okay. And then down here. Okay, so the 4-wheel drive is kind of a little pull-up T-handle in there. Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then fuel tank's down here where it's easy to get to. You don't got to climb up on a ladder to fill it. That's neat. So now, there's one control that a lot of people, I think, like all tractors with a 3-point have it, and nobody knows what it does. So maybe let's explain this.
Yeah,
right here.
Yep. So that control there is actually, we did a really nice video on our UTS equipment page, YouTube as well. What it does is it controls the flow of hydraulics to the 3-point arms. So in the sticker, it'll show fast and slow. Mm-hmm. This is considered what would be more accurately called a transport lock. So all the way to the to the right for us, it would lock the control of hydraulic fluid and basically fix those 3-point arms to where they cannot lower down at all.
Oh.
That's really beneficial for when you're coming up from the back of the property, carrying like a disc or a tiller, and you don't want that to weep down by, accidentally bumping the handle.
And see, and there's something. See, I even learned new things about this, and I mean, I haven't been, I thought I knew it. It's like, okay, it just controlled the speed of how fast it goes up and down. I didn't realize you could actually use it to lock the arms, which is probably a good thing, because I've noticed that before. It's like, okay, you can have it, you bump something, and it comes down, and you don't. Yeah, that I did not know that.
Yeah. So what is really interesting is, as you pointed out, that does control the flows. As John had pointed out, control how quickly things raise and lower back there. So as I've explained to a lot of customers, if you lock that all the way down and then slowly open it up, you can choose your preference of speed on how quickly your implement moves back there. I always tell this funny story of a customer that had come in for a fluid change. He had left his tiller on the back. We had lowered the tiller down, and unfortunately the valve body was wide open. So as you lowered that implement down, the tiller actually came down quite quickly without much control and slammed into the concrete.
Well, luckily nobody's foot was under it or anything. That would be bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's okay. So that's neat. Like I said, it's great when I'm always happy when I can learn something. I do not know everything in the world. Loud exhaust. So you guys don't just sell tractors. You also guys got implements, and this actually Ironcraft. This is a new implement brand for you guys. They're newer, isn't it?
Yeah, a little bit newer. We did make a transition over to Ironcraft. I think last year we started to carry a handful of their implements to start. I think we previously carried Titan, and a lot of people recognize Titan. Well, what had happened is Ironcraft actually purchased Titan. So there's a lot of product that has come over from them and allowed us to expand our offerings to our customers quite substantially. There's a lot of product out here that we're able to add in addition to their tractor, but not only that, there's a lot of return customers that come back and buy implements.
Excellent. Yeah, like myself.
Yep, absolutely.
So we got some box blades here. Now what's this big thing back there?
That thing is a tree puller.
Oh wow.
So pretty common in the skid steer and forestry world. But what is really nice is this offers you a compact frame to go up and grab some of those smaller sized trees and pull them out of the ground.
So instead of doing like a stump bucket where you're digging it out by the root, you actually pull this up. Now, I may have heard a rumor that you guys tried it on a tractor that might have been a titch small for it, and you had to replace the loader arm.
Yeah,
right?
So they are, as with every implement, user discretion. Got to be careful. So the physics and geometry with a lot of this stuff can sometimes break your tractor, and just be mindful of the size of the implement you're buying with the size of the tractor you're using it with.
And that's good advice for whatever. I mean, you know, your tractors are amazing machines that can do so many things. You just have to know. It's kind of like that. What was it? Clint Eastwood said that in the movie. A man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah.
Well, a tractor, you got to know a tractor's limitations too. But so we got some grapples here, which this is one that I want someday.
Yeah, the 48-inch is a really great offering for our customers that have those smaller frame size tractors, but also the 2515 operates really well with that smaller size grapple. Mm-hmm. There is an entire line of implements and tractors on the far end of the lot. These are all of our pending deals that are awaiting delivery this following week. And so we are excited to get these packages out. To kind of go over some of them, you'll see some of these customers are getting a tractor, pallet forks, grapple, and box blade.
Perfect. All in one shopping.
Yeah.
One-stop shopping, I should say.
So it is really nice to help our customers. Now this customer, in fact,
he bought a truck too?
No, just the landscaping. But we do a lot of that. So actually, in fact, last month we were able to sell, I think, as Vanessa had stated previously, was upwards of 20 implements last month, just single implement sales.
That's great.
And so what's really nice about that as a dealership is we're going to continue to offer our customers not only the tractors that they want, but the implements to go with them.
Perfect. I mean, that's it. And that falls back to, you know, that comes back to the whole statement I made about it's nice to have the dealer support. You know, that makes a big difference when you're buying a tractor. I mean, brands are one thing, but having that support, having that dealer nearby for when you need an implement or you need service, that's huge.
What is really nice is, actually, I'm going to steal this from one of my previous customers, is they're not shopping for tractors. Most times the customers come into a dealership, they're shopping for a dealership. Mm-hmm. They want to make sure they get into a place where they feel respected, understood with the questions that they have, and then also understand that, you know, are they going to be here for the long term in order to fix my stuff when I, unfortunately, and most likely will break it. Mm-hmm. And so I always like to say, you're buying a dealership and the tractor comes second to that purchase.
Perfect. Yeah. So, yeah, you got a lot of nice stuff here. And
something that I would like to touch on, this is a new addition to our lot. This is going to be something that we're going to offer to not necessarily our customers, but for their viewing pleasure. These are stands to actually mount our 3-point and skid steer quick attach implements.
Oh,
so you'll see these hooks here will be for your lower arms and then your top link arm.
Yep.
So it allows for implements to be placed on both sides. And then you have the skid steer quick attach. So for your grapples, buckets, forks, and etc., those are also able to be mounted. What this will allow us to do is in the future of our sales, we won't have to walk halfway across the lot to show all the available attachments for their tractors.
Okay. I could, you know, I tell you what, I could use this to store some of my implements at home.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, you run out of lateral space very quickly. Vertical is good, but it's almost like a better version of like the tire display at Discount Tire, right?
Yeah.
You know, where they got all the different tires on a rack. It's like, oh, this is this, and this, look at that.
These are actually homemade, and the boss actually likes to recycle a lot of the material that we have coming in from tractor crates and implement crates. So same as the fence that we have here, a lot of it is all recycled material.
Really?
Yep.
Oh, you guys built that?
Yeah, we built the fence.
Oh, how about that?
The gates, and these stands are all homemade.
Wow. So you guys are being responsible with with materials. You're not just throwing stuff away and, you know, run to the, I mean, it usually run to the scrapyard, but, you know, why bother when you can do something neat like this with it?
Yeah.
And like I said, now you're giving me an idea to steal a design. I might use that to store my stuff at home.
That's perfect.
No, That's an awesome idea.
So,
well done.
The parking lot is kind of a little bit of a mess. It's usually a little bit more organized. We just received a shipment of implements in this week. And with all the tractor sales that are headed out, unfortunately we haven't had a time to sort a lot of this stuff. But this coming week we're excited because we'll be able to kind of reorganize everything out here and be able to utilize our new stands.
Yeah, perfect. Perfect. So, yeah, we got all kinds of, we got some back blades. Landscape rakes, those are a handy tool. More box blades.
There's the offset graders as well, which are a really good
Offset grader. Oh, you guys have the ones that can go sideways.
Yeah.
Oh. Again, like every time I come here, I find a new toy that I want.
Pull this pin.
Yep. Okay. Oh, and then you got, I see. And then you got adjustment up here. Like,
So now you can offset the tractor, or the blade from the tractor.
Like I said, every time I come here, I see a new thing that I need. I need one of everything.
Yes.
Now I just need the money to make that happen. Maybe, I didn't win that $1 billion in the lottery the other day, so I guess that's just not going to be for me to come in and say, I would like one of everything. Please wrap it in a bow.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys got all kinds of neat stuff here, all the implements. You got, now these finish mowers or brush hogs?
These are the brush hogs.
Okay. That's what I thought, just make sure.
Yep, so they offer a nice cut for a lot of your more utilitarian, I'll use John's word, projects. So not necessarily the cleanest finish cut, but they definitely get the job done. On the back side, you can kind of see how robust these are. The blades are pretty thick and more of a blunt edge than your typical lawnmowers. So quite thick blades, and then there is an edge on there, but it's not quite as thin and refined as like a finish mower would be.
Right. So you're not gonna mow your golf course with this, but
no.
Somebody like me who needs to knock down brush and small and high weeds on a trail, that you can get that done with this, because this is more going to hammer and rip than it is the slice. So.
Yep, exactly. And we have a slicer over here to demonstrate it. I wanted to take a look at that.
Yep. Okay. I do like Ironcraft's paint scheme. I will say that.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
And something that they've recently transitioned to, so they used to carry a lot of the glossier paints.
Yeah, they've got that matte finish.
Yeah, I like that. They've transitioned into the matte finish, so now all of their new tillers will be that matte finish. There's a few examples over there, and then of course the brush hogs. Also, you'll see some gloss, but mostly matte. And that powder coat has proven to be a very durable product.
Yeah.
They've been really excited to offer these to their customers because they know that it's a product that's going to last.
And I don't know, there's something about the matte finish that just, it's cool, but it also, maybe it's just me, it makes it seem like it's stouter.
Yeah,
rugged. It seems less dressy and more rugged, you know. And powder coat always is going to be better than paint. Yeah. That goes without question.
Yeah. Something that I really like to point on these, of course, is the American flag on there. Ironcraft is kind of centered in Tennessee, is where a lot of their product is centered, and then they have a lot of these that are made right in-house. They do have these tillers available for their customers. Those are imported directly from India, it says right on the boxes, but the rest of the stuff is pretty well made right here in the U.S., which is really good for our customers to know that they're getting a good quality product.
Absolutely. Made in America is a huge thing. So, that's as it should be. So, well, this has been great. And you guys got mowers over there. I think maybe we'll take a look at those. We mentioned the Gravely mowers and that, but, we'll maybe take a look at those in a future video. So.
Yeah, we could always take some more time. Even in a later video, we could explore the shop next door and show the other offerings that we're excited to start doing. Awesome.
Well, Chase, thank you so much for inviting me here to take a look at the dealership and then taking all this time to explain to us about TYM and truck sales. Guys, if you're in the market for a tractor, you're in this area or in nearby one of UTS's other locations, I encourage you to stop by. They're a phenomenal company. They stand by their products. They're super helpful. Anything they can do. They stuck by me. I'll put a link to another video that I had in here about the 264 and some of the challenges we had. They stuck by it. But they stuck by me. They said, we found that they tried to work on a solution. It didn't work out. That happens with any manufacturer of any piece of equipment. But instead of just saying, well, you're on your own, we're tired of fixing it, go find somebody else, they said, you know what, let's find a different solution. And that's how we ended up with the Branson. So to me, that's huge for any company. That's why, to me, you guys have me as a customer for as long as I live nearby.
you know, there's always the hope of maybe moving somewhere right on, you know, I can follow that line of you don't have to shovel hot. So, you know, because snow, I mean, the older we get, you know, less.
Oh, yeah.
But then again, I have a great piece of equipment, as I've shown many times, of that to take care of that snow.
Yeah.
But like I said, if you guys interested in a tractor, you guys are on M61 in Gladwin.
Yep.
And I'm gonna put down at the bottom here. I'm gonna put the phone number and the address. You know, give Chase and Vanessa a call. If you need a tractor, you need an implement. If you already have a tractor but you need an implement, they carry some great brands. I'll speak to. I think their prices are phenomenal, and they'll work with you to find the solution you want. So that's going to do it for today, guys. I know this has been kind of a long video. Thank you to everybody who's been following along. I think it's worthwhile, and I think we've gotten a lot of great information. But until next time, everybody, take care of each other, stay safe, and I'm out.